Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to teach you guys how to sound more French. And a small disclaimer, my French is far from perfect, but these are things that I've noticed and picked up if you want to sound a bit more French. And you may be asking yourself, well, if you want to sound more French, don't you just work on your pronunciation? And while that may be true, there are also lots of other things that you can say and do to sound more French. So I'm just going to jump right in, and I realize that this plan is maybe too close. The first thing, and this is pretty easy, it's when you answer questions. So if someone asks you a question, instead of just responding to it, say things like bah écoute or du coup. And this is very common, guys. I literally heard a phone conversation the other day that went a little bit like this. Salut, comment ça va? Bah écoute, pas mal et toi? Ouais, bah écoute, ça va et tu fais quoi aujourd'hui? Écoute, aujourd'hui je vais... You get my point. This is used a lot. I feel like these little things, including how you respond to questions, are very important. Moving on, and this is one of my favorite things that we're going to talk about, and that is the sounds that French people make. Bon, fin, ben, There's a lot of sounds, and I'm going to talk about them. So the first one, bon. This is like well in English. If someone's like asking a question, you're going to say well, yeah. You could be like bon, ouais. French people say this a lot, and if you say this, it's going to help you sound more French. The next one, enfin. This is kind of like a thinking sound, although I'm not entirely sure. I never searched this. Just based on my reactions with people and them using this, this is what I'm guessing what this means. Another thinking sound is ba or even I think the French are very well known for their sound, but these are kind of the equivalent of if you're learning English and you start saying If you start saying you're going to sound more English. One sound that I really like is tac, and that's when you close the door or you do an action and you're like tac, the action's finished. Tac, tac. There's also the sound which is like t'es d'accord? And you're wanting confirmation. There's also the sound aïe, which is kind of the equivalent of ouch in English. If someone stands on your toes, maybe you'd say aïe. The French also do a farting sound with their lips when they don't know about something. And this, I just can't do. It's just so awkward. But anyway, I'll try. I'll give you an example. If you ask someone a question and they have no idea what the answer is, they'll be like, hey, do you know what the answer to this test is? I can't do it very well. The most useful sound is the oula, oulala, all of these different variants of the oulala. You can do the disappointed, oula. You can do the surprised, oula. You can do the very disappointed, oula la la la. I think in English there's a stereotype that oulala means something romantic, but in reality it's mostly used for surprise. Before continuing, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the online language school Lingoda. For those of you who haven't heard about Lingoda, they provide online courses in French, German, Spanish, and English, but they are most widely known for their sprints. And if you don't know what their sprints are, it's basically a 2-month intensive where you're in a small group with a professor, and if you manage to complete the 2 months without missing a single class, you get a full refund. And I managed to successfully complete one of their super sprints for French, and it really helped me improve, as well as I got all of the classes for free because I won the sprint. Like I said, Lingoda classes are completely online, so you can do the classes from the comfort of your own home, and they are 24/7, 7 days a week. Wait, did I say that right? 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you're guaranteed a class no matter where you are, no matter what time zone you're in. The teachers are all professionals who take you step by step through the material which has been already created, so therefore it's all in an order that makes sense for whatever level you're at. They also have a free online placement test, so if you do want to figure out where you should start off if you do join, that's always a good place to start. So if you sign up, this is what you'll find. This is where you'll book all of your classes, see your progress, download your class material, and all that good stuff. I put a discount code in the description so you lovely people get €20 or $25 off. Also, if you're interested in signing up for Lingoda, I will put down below a few videos I've already done on Lingoda about how I prepared for a sprint. I go a lot more in depth about how I managed to win the sprint and get the refund, pros and cons, and all that kind of stuff. Thanks Lingoda for working with me so we can all reach our language learning goal. Now let's get back into the video. Another thing, if you want to sound more French, don't use nous if you want to say oui. Don't even bother learning the conjugation. No, I'm just kidding. You probably should, but there's another way, on, and that is just a fact of the universe. Unless you're writing a formal email or you're a TV presenter or a politician, you're not really going to use nous. You're always going to use on. And you know what? This is way easier because you already know the conjugation for this because it's the same as il and elle. If you start using the nous conjugation just in everyday talk, it's going to sound really weird because no one else is going to be using it except for you. Next up, I'm just going to be giving you some words that you should learn if you want to sound more French. Words like du coup, de ouf, mec, les gars, vas-y, ça roule, ça marche, c'est nul, t'es nul, je suis nul, tout le monde est nul. Bref, laisse tomber. Et ça te va? Next up, the pronunciation point that I have added in here, and that is perfect the U and the R sound. These are the two hardest sounds for an English native. So if you perfect these, you're gonna be doing pretty well. How I like to remember these sounds is I pick a word to memorize that starts with that letter. For example, utile, utile. It's easier to pronounce if it's at the start of a word. I don't know why. Or répète, répète utile. Because sometimes the R, when it's like halfway through a sentence, like merci, it's less natural than when it's at the start. So if you want to practice, you can do that. Next up, verlan. And if you don't know what verlan is, it's basically French slang where the syllables are inversed. Interesting, right? And they say that, and it's just like a slang version of the original word. For example, merci becomes si mère. You see, we switched the syllables. If you want to say ma femme, sa femme, instead you'll say ma meuf, sa meuf. It's inverted, although it does sound weird, doesn't it? Another one, énervé becomes vénère, and you can find loads of these, even for McDo, which means McDonald's. They switch this and it becomes domac. And some verlan is so common that I didn't even know that it was verlan when I was using it. Next up, I've got words that you can replace other words that you might already know to sound more French. For example, replace cigarette with clope. Replace ami with pote. Swap travailler with bosser. Quelque chose with truc. I know when we start learning French, we all learn the word très, but there are so many other words to replace this. You can use trop, that is really common here in, I don't know if it's just in Normandy, but here no one says très, they say trop. You can also say like vachement, because très it's useful, but there are lots of other ways that people use to say that. Replace fatigué with crevé, ma petite copine with ma meuf, the word that I mentioned earlier. Euro becomes bal, so 10 euros becomes 10 balles. Super common, I rarely hear people use euro, they always use bal. De rien becomes je t'en prie or je vous en prie, and there's a few other ways to say this as well. Also, if you're using oui a lot, maybe start saying ouais as well, because ouais is the equivalent of yeah in English. A lot of people say yeah, we don't always say yes, 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 yes. So it's good to use ouais as well and not just oui. Change manger with bouffer and change travail with taf or boulot. I just thought of some more good words that are used very commonly. Well, not really words, but yeah. N'importe quoi, comme d'hab or comme d'habitude. Un bordel, you could say c'est un bordel, which means it's a mess. It actually translates to brothel, but let's just ignore that. And c'est chouette. C'est génial, c'est top, c'est cool, c'est super, c'est excellent. There are lots of other ways to say bonjour and salut as well if you want to expand your vocabulary. You can say coucou, which I find really cute, and the other day I just learnt the word wesh, which sounds so strange. Wesh. Oh, before I forget, perfect your swear words. You can't sound French if you don't perfect your swear words. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope after watching this you got a few tips on how to sound more French or improve your pronunciation, or if you just found it interesting, because I kind of find it interesting how different languages have their own little nuances. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and as always I will see you in the next one.